I drove a MX-5, the third generation. I also drove the M2, BMW M2. Yeah, it was a good experience. I was so scared.
Welcome to my ongoing series, Life in France, where I talk to people who have successful lives here in France. In today's episode, we're speaking with Vikram Timiri, who goes by Timvix online, a good friend of mine who moved to study the MIM program at ESCP Business School here in France. In my opinion, his life here has been successful for 3 reasons, and that's what we'll spend time talking about in this video. Firstly, how he approached making friends as a foreigner in France. Secondly, how he spent time on hobbies and how that has been fruitful for him. And thirdly, quite important for me, this is something new for me, is his investment in the fitness journey. I think there's a lot we could learn from him, and I hope you enjoy this conversation. Thanks so much for coming on my channel, bro.
Hey Josh, thanks for having me.
Bro, Vikram, I remember going for a shoot with you where you said, do you want to go and do a car shoot? I was like, what the hell is a car shoot? How did you know about that? It looked to me like you're in your habitat. You had your friends, people recognized you, you had your jokes, your references. That was beautiful to see. You just like fit in. How do you learn about this place and stuff?
Dude, here's the funny thing. The first place that I visited after coming to Paris was actually that spot. It was not even Eiffel Tower, not La Seine. It was that place as a student.
Okay.
Yeah, as a student.
But how do you know that it's there?
Yep. So what happened was, like, before I came to Paris, I was following a couple of car spotters. So car spotters in the community are those who follow these cars or who follow the car owners, and they know.
I'm going to be very annoying now. How do you know what's a car spotter? Like, how did you get into this thing?
Okay, let's start from the beginning then. I'm a huge car enthusiast. I love automobiles, and it's not just the fancy ones. It's not just Ferrari, Lamborghinis. I can talk about those cars, and I can equally talk about Maruti 800 or Ambassador. Those are like the basic cars that you can find in India. So I'm very passionate about cars in general, cars. So when I knew that I'm going to come to Paris, I started digging the Instagram platform, and I was like, okay, are there some car photographers? Are there some car people who live in Paris? And hashtags help a lot in this, right? So you go for hashtag Paris car meets or Paris. And I found that there was this one spot where a lot of people were clicking a lot of pictures from. On Instagram,
okay,
right?
Okay.
And then there was this one guy who kept posting a lot of pictures from that particular spot. So I just DM'd him. And I DM'd a couple of other people who were clicking pictures as well. So I just DM'd them, and 2 or 3 of them replied to me. And they were very kind enough to tell me, okay, these are the places where the car meet happens, and if you want to come, just pop in. Like, it's free, you can just come there. And coincidentally, I was...
That's the first thing you did in France. Then you were already looking this up when you were in India.
Yeah, I was already looking at these stuff when I was in India. So when I came here, I found these things, and coincidentally, my place where I was living was very close to the area where the car meet happens every Sunday. So I was like, okay, let's do it. So I went there the first Sunday, and I saw this amazing cars, man. Like, I could have never imagined seeing those, rare and exclusive cars. I mean, I'm talking about cars which cost like 700,000 euros or €1,000,000 roaming on the streets. And I think that's one beautiful thing about France, where people actually drive their cars. And it's not just a garage queen. It just doesn't sit in your garage. If people buy it, they drive it. So you get to see these amazing cars there. And like you said, in the beginning, I didn't really have a big friend circle. So the only thing I had was my camera. I didn't even have my camera. It was just my mobile camera at that time.
Wow, which phone was it?
It was a OnePlus 70. I still have it. OnePlus, man. So it was just my mobile phone, and it was my passion for cars. And the only thing that I did consistently was show up. I just showed up. Every Sunday I used to go there, no matter rain, snow, summer. I was there with the camera, And then after a while, I bought my first camera here in Paris, and then I started clicking pictures. And then when I started visiting this meets, this time I had a camera, and I was doing like proper shoots. So just to put things into context, I did have a camera before. When I was in India, I was using a Nikon, but while I came here, I didn't bring it. I had to leave it behind because of all the COVID, the shenanigans.
You came here during COVID?
Yeah, I came here during peak COVID. Yeah, I came here during peak COVID. So I knew photography. So once I got the camera, I started clicking pictures. And then after the shoot, I would go back home, edit the pictures, and I post them on Instagram with the hashtag.
What hashtag did you use?
Hashtag Place Vauban, because that's the place where this meet was happening. Sometimes hashtag the car brand name or
Car
the model
spotters.
name, hashtag car spotters, Paris car spotting, stuff like that.
You would tag the guys who you're shooting sometimes.
Yeah, if I knew the owner, because a lot of the owners would have their Instagram handles as a sticker on the car. So I would tag them. And even otherwise, I would just put a small key emoji and I would say tag the owner. And I would post the picture, right? And people would find these photos. That hashtag was so powerful because every Sunday these people would come. And after they go home, they would check Instagram and they would find my pictures. And I think people liked my pictures. So a lot of them started following me and they would repost the pictures as well. And that's how the whole thing began. And once my pictures started getting a little bit of recognition, the next time I went to the meet, people recognized me because I think I was the only Indian dude standing there, like a non-French speaking guy, clicking pictures of cars, So, yeah, that's how it all started, man.
To put things in perspective, in India, where are you from?
I'm from South Chennai.
Chennai.
Yeah.
And there, did you attend any of these cars?
Never.
Okay.
I think back when I was in India, the car culture was not that great in India. But I'm happy to say that things are improving now. I saw that in Karnataka, in Bangalore especially, a lot of Ford owners, they came together with their Ford cars and they are having like small meets, they're going for drives. Similarly in other big cities as well, Mumbai, there's like a lot of car culture. The car culture is growing now in India and happy about that.
So this interest in cars thing for you, when did it start? Like since you can remember, or it's more like the engineering thing, day things that you picked up?
No, I think it's since I can remember. I think my earliest memory with cars is the Hot Wheels. The small die-cast cars that you get. I had tons of them back home. Thanks to my mom and dad, I had tons of them. So it started off with that, and it just kept growing on and on. And when I finished my 12th, I was planning to get into an engineering school. And the only stream that I could think about was automotive engineering because of the passion that I had. Honestly, I was not very sure if engineering was the right thing for me to do. I was a little bit skeptical. But, in India, we don't really have the concept of taking a gap.
Yeah.
So I finished my 12th and I immediately wanted to get into something.
I feel you.
Yeah, so engineering, okay, I had to do engineering. And now the question was which field, which one. So automotive seemed the most natural to me.
What was this community like for you? Like I've seen you only in like one or two events, and I met your friends and stuff.
Yeah.
But for you, I noticed a lot of your Instagram posts and your YouTube videos about you traveling around with them and stuff. It's a world that I don't know. Like for me, around creativity, creating videos and stuff. So people like you and Anastasia, Mayank, these people that I hang with, that's become my community now, one of my communities. And for you seem to have this brand new little sphere of your own that it seems so foreign to me. So what is the dynamics like? How did you make friends? How often do you catch up with them? What do you guys do apart from shooting cars?
Honestly, dude, I think having a hobby helped me a lot. It was not something that I faked. It's something very natural. And the most interesting thing is the group, automotive group that I got into was not actually from the meet. It was actually during my first internship.
Oh.
Yeah. So what happened was while I was interning in this company, there was a guy in my team. And me and him, we didn't really talk that much in the beginning.
You're a French guy, what?
Yeah, I was a French guy. So there was a little bit of a communication barrier. I mean, I could speak French, not very fluently, but I could speak some. And still, it was not the best conversation that we had, And then one day, I go get a coffee, and I was like walking back to my desk, and I got a glance of his computer screen, and there was a Mazda MX-5 on his wallpaper.
And you could say immediately it's.
Yeah, I could see which car was that. So I just walked up to his table and I was like, dude, cars are cars. Like, I don't give a... When I see cars, I just talk, So I saw the car and I just walked up to his desk and like, hey, that's a Mazda MX-5. It's like, yes. And then I was like, dude, that's an amazing car. That's the 4th generation. It's the new one, right? And this is this particular color. It's cool. And he was like surprised. And then he asked me, so you like cars? I
No.
said, dude, come on. I love cars. Come on. And then he started discussing more about the car and we spoke for a while. And after that, in the end, he was like, that's actually my car. That's my car. And I was like, wow, that's nice.
Instant icebreaker.
Yeah, instantly. And dude, after that, everything changed. Like, after that, the way we started talking, of course, we had some communication gaps, but no one cared because when your passion is stronger, So we started talking, and then he offered me to take me for a road trip. So I went to Etretat with him.
Oh yeah, this is the one.
I made a vlog with him, and then he was like, "Dude, you click amazing pictures. I have some friends who have some nice cars in Paris. Why don't we go for a road trip together? Let's all go together." I was like, "Sure, why not?" And then he invited me for this road trip. I was a passenger. I went to the trip, and again, when I went to that first road trip, it was a bit cold because I couldn't really communicate with a lot of people.
Oh, okay.
And they were a bit skeptical. So the trip ended, came back home, I clicked some pictures, post the pictures on social media, and that's when they started talking to me. They're like, "Dude, this guy can click," and then they started like sending me messages in French, and I would reply to them. So that's how it all began for me. I became part of that group, and then after that trip, whenever they went for like road trips, or whenever they would go for track events, like they would book a track and they would take their cars to the track, and they would just drive like laps and laps of
like a racetrack.
Yeah, like a racetrack.
You can rent that stuff, or
Yeah. You can rent them out, and yeah.
I don't know anything about this world.
Yeah, so they rent it out for like 12 hours, and then they start.
Expensive, what?
Yeah, it is expensive, but when you go as a big group, you share the price. Yeah.
Like renting a football place and playing
Yeah,
football.
yeah.
Something like that.
And honestly, dude, like even though I'm so much into cars, I think this was the first time I got to experience that.
You drove?
To a track. Yeah, I got to drive in the track as well. I drove a MX-5, the third generation. I also drove the M2, BMW M2. Yeah, it was a good experience. I was so scared. Yeah, but that's a whole nother story. But I was so, it was such a surreal moment for me. I was sitting there in the track in a car drifting around the track, and that's something that I've never experienced before. So it all started off with like that.
You don't drift or what?
I didn't drift.
Someone
else was drifting. Yeah.
Full Tokyo drift feeling.
Yeah, man, it was wild. And the car that he was driving was not like a very fancy car either. It was a very simple car, but a tuned.
Like e-brake and all he had.
Yeah, he did. It was wild.
Madness. So, but that kind of gives you this, I don't know what's the right word to use, mental support maybe, something in the back of your mind saying that worst comes to worst, these guys are there.
Yeah.
I've got somebody, right?
I mean, yeah, I do consider them as a good friend. It's a good community, but honestly, I don't depend on them completely for something. For me, it's more like how do I put it? It's like a community where I go to just relax. We don't talk about work. We don't talk about anything. No one talks about work. To be honest, I've been hanging out with most of them in the group, and we don't know what each other do. Like, they don't know if I'm a student. They don't know if I speak French or not. They don't know. But you go, you meet them, and every time there's someone new in the group, and you just meet them, you introduce yourself, you hang out, have a good meal, go for a nice ride, click some pictures. It's that life,
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that, yeah, definitely it's a good community to hang out with. But I wouldn't say that I completely depend on them, or I feel like, okay, if I don't do anything, I have some fallback,
Yeah. No, I feel what you're saying, because it took me like a year and change to discover that this is another possibility of community, because I was just depending on my school and I didn't have any friends at all in the first year. That was difficult. But then started this language learning club kind of thing. Somebody else started it, but I was managing it back then in Lille. And then I had these kind of, let's call it loose connections. I would only meet them on Thursdays, not every day, not other days. And we would only catch up to talk about how's your French doing, how's your English doing, and that was it.
Yeah.
And there were like 60 people in a bar that we would meet every Thursday. So it kind of felt like, Thursday is reserved. Please don't ask me for Thursday. It's taken.
Yeah.
That's what I do on Thursdays.
Exactly. Yeah. And you like that feeling, right? When you meet these people and you just talk about your passion or your hobby.
No strings attached.
Exactly.
No expectations. Yeah, that's great. So that's what you felt like with the car community?
Yeah, that's how I felt. And honestly, if one thing that I learned from being in this community is that having a hobby is really helpful, and spending your time improving yourself in that hobby, becoming an expert of that thing, that really helps.
Right.
It really helps a lot.
Because then when you meet somebody, they also co-respect the fact that you're so good at that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I also noticed that this is the other thing that I discovered late on is spending time and energy on fitness.
Mm.
You've been doing this for a long time, so you're already advanced in this journey. Did that convert to community for you as well, or was that just your private meditations kind of a session?
I think I would call it more like a private meditation session because honestly, with workouts, I feel like everyone has their own style of workout. Everyone has their own preference. Some people like to do high intensity workouts. Some people like cardio. Some people just like to lift heavy, like, powerlifting. And when you try to share your thoughts, your ideas about that workout,
Could be a conflict.
could be conflicting. It could be a conflict. So, um, I enjoy working out. To be very honest, it's my time. It's my meditative space. Like, most of the time, I don't even have my headphones plugged in when I'm
Oh.
working out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm in the zone. Like, I love it. I started going to the gym in the school a few months back regularly. Before that, I was much more into running, cardio, outdoor workouts. So I used to hit these outdoor workout spots. But now I've been using the school gym quite often.
What do you do?
General, like, lifting sessions. I split my workout into 5 days a week. So I go to the gym 5 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah, and I split it for every day. I target a different muscle part of my body. So one thing that I found interesting was that I'm regular. I go like every single day, 5 days a week, every single day. And when I am regular, I find some other people who are regular. And I don't really have to go and talk to them. When
you know this-
after a week, you see each other and
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You get that feel. And eventually you start talking. And it's so effortless. You don't feel the resistance, you just start talking.
Is it safe to say that if I stripped out the fact that you're passionate and love cars so much, and the fact that you have the habit of working out, you would feel more lonely when you move to France?
If I didn't have these two,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. For sure. I think with workout, I wouldn't really feel lonely because honestly, I haven't really made like a big community, or I haven't met like a lot of people through workout. Workout is something that I do for myself. It's for my mental peace. So maybe the loneliness aspect wouldn't be much relatable with that. But with automobiles, for sure.
For sure,
I think
okay.
that's a big community that I'm part of, and I think I would miss those guys. Yeah.
Gotcha. Something that I discovered with working out lately, people have been telling me all my life, and I just chose not to believe them, is that it would make you happy. So say it releases endorphins in your mind, in your brain, and it's a happiness drug. Maybe you don't like to work out, but you feel very proud, triumphant achievement, happiness, top of the world after the workout. And doing that for 2 or 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, I was like, what are they talking about? That's a fairy tale. And lately, I kind of felt like, damn, I feel it. Why am I so happy today? Yeah. For you, when did that recognition of, this is that post-workout drug kicking in my head? When did you start feeling that?
So I was an active kid. I had a very active lifestyle. During my high school days, I was into swimming. Then I did karate for a lot of years. And after that, during my 11th and 12th high school, I stopped going to karate classes. I stopped everything. And that's when I started feeling like, there was this itch, like, because I was such an active kid, and then suddenly I stopped doing everything. I could feel that. And then I was like, okay, let's start doing calisthenics, body weight training. So I started doing push-ups, pull-ups, squats, and all those stuff in home. And my dad, he's into fitness. He works out a lot.
Okay,
He
so that helps.
he hits the gym quite often as well. Then he said, why don't you come to the gym with me? And I was always under this
How old were you?
I just finished my high school, so I don't know, maybe like 16, 17, 12th,
Okay.
12th grade,
Gotcha,
yeah,
okay.
maybe 17, 18. It's like, why don't you come to the gym?
Oh.
And honestly, I was not very happy about that because I was under this conception that if I go to the gym, I'll become like Arnold, I'll become bulky and like all muscular. And my dad was like, dude, I've been lifting and I've been busting my ass for so long and still I haven't managed to get those muscles. You think you're going to like
You're fine.
lift?
You're
You're fine. Don't think too much. And then I started going to the gym and it was, again, it was like this the same way like you said, when I was hitting the gym with him, I never felt like, wow, I'm becoming strong or I'm feeling happy. No, never. But over the period of time, one thing that I stuck with was being disciplined. No matter what, I kept showing up, I kept doing it. And after a point, I felt like nothing really is happening, I'm not getting like muscular, or I'm not getting ribbed, because working out is just a part of it. You need to follow a diet, you need to do everything for getting that kind of a physique. So I was like, is it really working? Is it really helping me? And then there was this one instance where I actually had a conversation with a couple of my friends, and we were out, we were trying to have small activities, and I could feel that I was performing better than them.
Like school PE stuff.
Yeah, school PE stuff, or when we go for hiking or treks, my cardio, my endurance was more just lifting stuff and those normal things. I could feel that my strength was a little bit better than theirs, because they were not doing anything for this, and I had been doing it for quite a while. And that's when I felt, okay, all these years of effort is actually doing something good inside my body. Maybe I'm not seeing immediate results, but it's delayed gratification. So
Gotcha.
it took time for me to get there. And that was the point when I felt, okay, I need to stick with this.
Gotcha.
I need to spend some time for my body. So since then, I've been like very regular. Yeah.
Why did you choose to move to France to study over here? Where did that choice come from? You Google it for the first time. Why did you Google it? Why did you accept to do it?
Dude, honestly, there was like no big strategy or something. I finished my engineering, and I was very sure that I don't want to enter into this field. I mean, I love cars. I did automotive, right? So I love cars, but I was very sure that I don't want to be in the technical side of the industry. I would rather love to be in the business aspect of the company, right? Right after I finished my bachelor's, I was like, I need to do a master's in management. I was considering MBA, and I was
Yeah.
no, I was just considering MBA,
Okay.
and then I was also considering moving abroad. So these were the two things that
Gotcha.
was in my mind.
Gotcha.
So if you want to do MBA abroad, most of the schools, they ask for at least 3-4 years of work experience minimum, which I did not have. I just graduated. So masters in management was the next best option for me. Then I googled and I saw that in Europe, France is very popular for masters in management. Like the top schools are like HEC, ESCP, ESSEC. These were like the top schools, and in fact these schools come ranked like top schools in whole of Europe. Like, so that was my first insight into this world. And it's like, okay, there are 2, 3, 4 best schools in Paris, in France. Like you have HEC, EDEC, ESSEC, and ESCP. So it's like France seems to be a good destination for this. So I targeted the top schools, and then I started preparing myself for that, and that's how I ended up in France.
Nice. When you saw that France was an option, what were the worries that you had, and how did you work with that?
So I think the number one obvious worry was the language. I mean, no surprise, but I was kind of confident that I could learn the language. I not even once had the thought that I won't be able to do it. I had zero French, dude. Like literally zero. I studied German for almost a year while I was doing my bachelor's, because automotive, Germany, kind of, some things are common. So I thought, okay, maybe German would be helpful at some point. But then I ended up coming to France, and I had zero French, like literally zero. But still, I never had this fear that I would, whether I would be able to learn it or not.
Right. So you're like, yeah, I'll spend some time, it'll happen.
Yeah. And then I found a lot of resources, videos. I found you as well during this period, during this French period, contemplating period, whether I should take it or not. I saw you on Easy French, and you kind of gave me this hope, like it's possible. It's possible. It's not magic. If you can do it, I can do it as well.
The representation.
Yeah.
Sorry to say it out like that, but if you see a white guy speaking, you
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's kind of true. Yeah. So
see a brown guy speaking, the guy learn it.
True. I mean, and I kind of saw that you are from the south as well, and we had like a lot of things in common. I saw you on LinkedIn. I saw your profile. So it's like, okay, it's possible. It's not that. Of course, I need to put effort. I need to work. I'm aware of that, but it's possible.
It also makes it a little bit rare, right? Like, because so many people abandon it.
Yeah,
and you'll be one of the only guys who stuck.
Exactly.
And from your past experience that you stick to things.
Exactly.
Like the gym thing and the...
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that was one thing that I was a bit concerned about, the language. The second thing, which my parents were more concerned than me, was the fact that I didn't have any family in France.
Oh yeah, the loneliness thing, yeah.
Because in other parts of the world, I do have some family members living here and there.
Okay.
But in France, no one. Actually, in Europe, no one. So I'm the first one from my family here. So that was a bit of a concern for my parents whether I would be able to, uh, like be okay here. I don't have any support.
I feel you.
So yeah, these were the two things of concern.
Nice. And after you joined your school and stuff, you did your first year, you did your internship year, and then you finished your final year, and now you're getting into the job. That's
Yeah, so my academic journey, I did 1 year of studies in Paris. Then I decided to take a gap. So I took 1 year gap and I pursued a 1 year internship during that gap. So 6 months as a communications intern and 6 months as a marketing analyst intern.
how's the communications one? Yeah, like communications in France. What does that even mean?
Yeah, I know, right? I know. So the company that I work for is actually an international company. It's an automotive B2B firm. It's a French company, but most of their clients are abroad.
Okay, so that helps with the language.
Yeah, that helps a lot with the language. And also, they have like a lot of other divisions in different parts of the world. For instance, Japan, China, India, Germany, US. So all the official business work was always in English. Like
This is for Asia?
this is for Asia,
Okay.
yeah. So it's always it was always in English. But when you take a coffee with your colleagues or when you have something,
Like sometimes even something that's so operational because we live in France.
yeah,
Sometimes something is so operational like go grab this from here
Yeah.
or write to that guy over there.
yeah.
Has to happen in French. What was your experience around these operational
Yeah,
stuff?
so at this point, when I applied for this internship, I'd already been in France for 1 year, and I'd already started putting a lot of effort into learning the language. So I would say my level was at that point like A2 B1. Honestly, dude, my grammar is horrible. Like I think I'm a guy who learns the language from instincts, from listening. So I can talk. I will talk to you. Grammar is correct or not, I don't know. Don't question me about the
But the
conjugation.
message gets through.
Yes, exactly. You will understand what I'm saying. Of course, I'm trying to polish the language as time progresses. I'm trying to improve on that. But this is my first way of learning a language. Huh? So A2, B1 was my level, but I could speak a lot. I could understand a lot. And interestingly, the job that I got into, the post was in French.
And you apply.
Yeah. So I told myself, I'm going to read the application. I'm going to read the post. If I understand, I'm going to apply. That's it.
Straightforward.
I understood. I understood like 60 to 80% of it. And I was like, okay, let's apply. And I put French intermediate on my CV and I applied. And then all the interview, everything happened in English. They never questioned me about my French. I think I had an interview with the director and he asked me if I could speak French. And it was like a, let's say, 5 minute conversation.
5 minutes, huh?
Not even 5 man, I think 2-3 minute conversation. Yeah, just to say, yeah.
Yeah, it's heavy.
So, yeah, so it just, I told him that I'm learning.
You prepared for this 3-5 minute conversation?
Yeah. Fait que j'apprends français en ce moment. Stuff like that, like just tell them that I'm learning. And that's how I got into the role. And then the first few months, everything was all right. And then a part of my role was to send and receive shipments.
Okay.
For the prototypes that we had in the company, right?
Okay.
Like they are big prototypes.
Like you would go to the logistic company and...
Yeah, so the let's say the delivery guy would come to the company,
Okay.
and I have to go and tell him, okay, the office is over there. You need to bring your truck over there, unload the stuff there, park it here,
And of course, he only speaks French.
yeah, he speaks only French. And so in the beginning, my manager was showing me, she was helping me a lot with this. But then after a point, she's like, dude, you can speak French in your CV, right?
Let's test that, shall we?
Take care of it. Go, just do it. And these shipments used to happen at like 7 a.m., 8 a.m. in the morning
Wow,
because
okay.
they'll come from different country quite early. So yeah, the first time that happened, that was quite nerve-wracking for me. I was so nervous, dude. I remember because I don't know what to say, and it's not like a conversation. It's a company. It's an expensive prototype. I don't want to mess it up. So I went there, and the guy doesn't speak doesn't speak English at all. But yeah, I did it.
You had notes and stuff, or...
He understood everything I spoke. I was able to communicate. I was surprised. I was like, wow, it's the same thing, like the gym moment,
I
I was like, I can do it. And the interesting thing is, when you talk in French to these people who don't speak English at all, they are much more willing to
Forgiving.
listen to you,
Yeah.
and they're much more forgiving, exactly. Because they don't speak English. So even if you speak little bit of French, they're like, okay, cool, I understand.
I get
Let's
it,
stick
I
with
get it,
this.
yeah.
And if I'm getting stuck somewhere, if I'm telling something wrong, Like, it's fine, take your time, I'll wait. Like, so it was much more like I learned so much, dude, and I'm really grateful to those guys. So there was this one guy, one truck guy who used to come quite often. He was from Morocco, but he spoke French. So after a point, we got like really like we connected quite well. And then I was like, after he finishes his delivery, I'd be like, you want to grab a coffee? I want to like talk to you in French for like let's say maybe 5-10 minutes if you have time, because it was early morning shipments, right? So no one would be there in the company at that time. It was just me and the truck guy. So after the shipment, we would grab a coffee. I would talk in French with him. I would ask him what did he do for his vacation, where did he do. That was just for me to like practice French.
You're already doing all the right things.
Yeah. Unknowingly, yeah.
That's great, man. That's great. So that's how your French is so good now, right? Because I've heard you. We don't speak in French, so I don't know how good your French is until we go someplace where you're supposed to use your French, and then like, damn son, I didn't know you speak French.
I mean, my vocabulary is very specific, I would say. If you meet me in a restaurant, you would think I'm a native French speaker.
Oh, really?
Because, when I was interning, one thing that we did regularly was go out and eat. And every time we went out to eat, people would order in French. Dude, I'm not kidding, dude. The first time we went to this burrito place, they had like a lot of ingredients. And the thing is, like, you need to tell them what you want in your burrito. It was so hard because I didn't know the names of the stuff. Yeah? I'd be like, je voudrais ça, s'il vous plaît, like, c'est quoi, And the final day of the internship, I knew each and everything. I knew what were the secret ingredients that they had. I had my own recipe. I would order it for my friends. I mastered it, like, so.
Just show up and eat.
Just show up and eat every day, that's it.
So, what strikes me is that you are someone who is willing to put in expensive investment of your time, of your energy. You showed up to the car meets, you showed up to the gym, and you show up to eat, but order in French.
Yeah.
So that sounds like that's your secret sauce. That's how you learn stuff.
Yeah, I think, when I saw my other friends ordering good food and me ordering something very shitty because I couldn't order, it felt bad. It felt really bad. I was like, I'm spending so much money to live here.
And to eat this.
And to eat this? Really? And dude, I was like, okay, let's do small improvements. After that one shitty meal, I would ask my friend, dude, what did you order? Could you please tell me? I would note it down, and the next time I would make sure to like say that. And I would see this guy got some delicious accompaniment, like sides, with sauce. I didn't get that sauce. How did you get that sauce? Tell me, what is that? So next time, so that's how I kept improving. It took time, but it works.
So another specific world, I'm just assuming, is the car world. So you have a good French vocabulary around the car world, I'm guessing?
So that's a little bit funny because these car guys, they're like locals and they have like very strong slangs and accents. So I got learned some words which I shouldn't be saying apparently.
Dude, that is so
for
cool.
the police and stuff.
Like
Le curve, le flic, I cut this part. But yeah, so they would keep telling me these things when we are riding. We're like, oh, putain, le flic là-bas. So it's like, what is le flic? You're like a kid, you're just absorbing these words because you want to learn. And then they would teach me, like, a flic is this, yeah. And then I was with my French professor and there was some discussion and I said, oui, le flic. She's like, pardon? Excusez-moi, c'est quoi?
First of all, how do you know that?
She's like, who are you hanging out with? So yeah, I mean, yeah, that French vocabulary is too specific, but no, they are nice guys.
Like stuff like when somebody modifies his car, for example. Like we call it like a skirt in India.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, true. Like that, I learned a lot of words. For example, this échappement. Échappement is basically the exhaust pipe. That's échappement. And then we have something called a straight pipe, which is basically when you want to make your car sound nice. What they do is they just take a pipe from your engine to the exhaust. Okay. So you get a direct sound. There's no filter. They call it échappement direct. So in English, we call it straight pipe. Here they call it échappement direct. So these were very specific terms that I learned. Yeah.
So I think if you said that you're great with math or you studied you work at NASA, it's almost impossible for me to verify that. But if you say that you hang with these car guys who speak French And if I'm one of the guys who does that too, it takes 20 seconds of a conversation to verify if it's true, because
Yeah.
how else would you know what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So the litmus test is very quick for language which is specific to this domain, right?
Yeah, true. Very true.
So the next time we were discussing about this with Anastasia, about learning exotic languages, and the value in knowing that language is the fact that only a few people speak it. So when you then find somebody else who speaks the language, given that it's so rare and you're one of them, there is a special endearment. And is that something that you face with the car world as well? Vocabulary
Definitely.
plus, yeah.
Definitely. I think it just makes it much more easier, and also it makes it feel much more fulfilling, because honestly, I can get the job done in English. If that's my objective, to get the job done, I can get it done in English. You have social media which has like real time translation. You send a message, it gets translated automatically. But then when you speak the language, you have these tiny conversations with the person, which just feels nice. You make some jokes, you have a good laugh, and it feels much more nicer. It feels more rewarding. So I think learning language, it really helps you with that front.
Vikram, before inviting you, I actually wrote down these bullet points that I want to talk about. I didn't know that we would take so much time on this.
I'm sorry if I spoke a lot.
There is so much to discover because I had no idea what you're going to say. So when you give more, I keep taking more. I wanted to spend some time on your school part as well. So in the interest of time, I'm going to jump to that.
Sure.
But great stuff so far. So you shared about why you picked France and how this choice of going to France came about for you. What was your GMAT like? That was a very stressful time for me. My GMAT was terrible. And people keep asking me this question and I can't seem to answer it because my GMAT was terrible. What was your GMAT days like? How much time did you spend on it? Which are all the variables you needed to get out of the way?
Yeah, just the term gives me PTSD. Yeah, I was not that great. Honestly, I feel I'm not really that great with tests, and GMAT GRE was no exception. So I went with GRE instead of GMAT because I realized that I gave the mock test for both, and my initial mock scores were better for GRE. And I feel like...
So smart, I didn't think of doing that.
Yeah.
See which one's better.
It takes a little bit of effort to do this because the tests are so long. GRE test is like for 4 hours, I think. It was 4
GMAT
hours.
was 3, I think.
GMAT was 3. So it takes some effort to do it. But I took both the tests and I saw which one am I naturally more inclined towards. And I felt GRE was better for me. The second thing was if you're good at quants, I noticed that GMAT is a better way to go.
Okay.
And if you're good with verbal, GRE. Did I say GMAT before?
You said GMAT before.
Okay. And if you're good with verbal, GRE is a much better approach. And I felt that I was much better in the verbal aspect.
Okay.
Yeah. So for those reasons, I decided to stick with that. And I gave the test. And I got a very good score with my verbal. But the quants were like, it was okay. It was not something that my parents would be proud of.
I love how you put that.
Yeah, but my mom is a maths teacher, by the way. But yeah, I got a decent score, and that was good enough for me to get into ESCP. But the fun part was that I noticed most of the schools, the top schools like HEC, ESC, HEC for sure, they are very keen about your GMAT and GRE scores. They ask for a very high score. But in case of ESCP, that's not true because they focus more on your overall profile. They see what other extracurriculars are you good at, how good your essays are, how good you were in the interview. So GRE accounts to only 10%, GRE and GMAT, both account only 10% of your overall application.
So you mentioned the car part and stuff in your profile, for example.
Yeah. And they asked me a lot of questions about that in the interview as well.
Okay.
Just to see whether I'm authentic or not. So they asked me, okay, can you tell us about what are the automotive related events that's happening in Europe at that point. So there was like a auto expo, very famous auto expo happening in Europe during that time. So I told them about that and I could elaborate on that. So yeah, those things help a lot. So I think GRE and GMAT, it plays a very small role. Of course, if you have a good score, it helps a lot. But I would say that that's not everything for getting into ESCP at least.
Gotcha. So then you got your score, you applied, you got here. What was your first few months like after you got over here?
So the first few months were a little bit challenging for me because I came here a month late because of the whole COVID thing going on. Everything was okay for me, and then I did a COVID test and I was positive. So I had to like delay my trip a month. So when I reached to Paris, these classes had already begun. So I had to like catch up. I had a lot of catching up to do. The first few months were kind of interesting. It was like I was in a shark tank
Oh,
trying to like grab the right person, because everyone is here with the same mindset of making new friends. Everyone
really?
wants to make new friends.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so different from my experience. Tell me more.
Yeah, so everyone, especially the Indian students, so there's this, it felt like a competition, kind of like a competition
My
where,
friends are cooler than yours.
yeah, exactly. So like, I have these many friends, I have these many non-Indian friends. So it was like very competitive. And then eventually people realize that, okay, it's not that easy to connect with them. It's really hard. And then there's this bubble formation where people end up sticking. So it was very interesting to see how everyone has their own approach of making friends, of course. But it was quite fast paced. Everything was happening very quick. The first few months, I never felt I was a student. I felt as if I'm on a vacation
Really?
because I was in a new place, and
Right,
Paris being Paris, there's so many things to do, so many things to see, and you get so many student concessions. Like the museums are free, you don't have to buy tickets for anything. So it's like, okay, day one we go to Eiffel Tower, day two we go to La Seine Cruise. Every single day you keep like roaming
Trying to
around.
understand. Workload from school, was it lower than India or you felt it was more intense than India?
It was not that intense. It was not that intense, but I felt the guidance was less.
Right.
They tell you have to submit this at the end of, like, they give you a deadline. They tell you have to submit this, and that's it. And then you have to
Figure it out.
make your own timetable. You have to make your own plans. How you're going to finish it? What are the things that you're going to refer? Whether you want to have a one-on-one session with the professor. So that was something new for me because we are not used to that back in India, right? You constantly have a professor asking you, okay, did you do this? Submit this,
Yeah.
So you have this constant thing going on. But here, there's nothing. So
I just want to touch base also on your job application front. It's the same, right? Like you have to do more. Compared to your stay in India, did you feel that here you are a little more on your own to find your internship slash job?
yeah, definitely. I mean, I did not apply for a job in India. I just finished my studies and came here. But I did have a lot of friends who were searching for a job once they finished their graduation. And one of my very close friend, I saw him go through this whole campus recruitment thing where, the companies come to your campus
Oh, yeah.
and then they have this whole thing going on with the applications and stuff. And you don't have anything like that here. It's all you. You just have these networking events where you have to connect with the employer.
Yeah, it's on you.
It's on you.
And if you didn't do it, no one's asking you why you didn't do it.
Exactly.
You just didn't do it.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have to make the best out of it. I think the discipline thing helps a lot here.
Right. So that means that you would shine because you're good at this discipline thing. Gotcha. Now towards the end of your stay in France, what are your key takeaways that you would have time traveled to tell Vikram back in the day? Like already I know that you're a disciplined person, so you show up and this ensures that you learn stuff really well. But after your 2 or 3 year experience in France, if there are some key takeaways like, oh, I hope younger Vikram did this, what would you time travel back and tell yourself back in the day?
Okay, before getting into that, just not to sound too cocky, I am trying to be as disciplined as possible. I wouldn't say I'm really perfect. There are times when even I slack off. But I think it's the effort that counts, having that mindset that, okay, this is something that's going to help me.
I'm going to cut this part. You're being way
No,
too modest. You're disciplined, just accept it and move on.
It's true. Like I'm not trying to say that I'm perfect, but yeah, that's
No,
me.
you're not. Nobody is. No, but I think you definitely have the discipline thing. I've noticed it. I've known you for 2 years now, right? I've noticed it. So
Yeah.
you have that going for you.
Just to put that out. Okay, so key takeaways, I think there are a couple of them. One, definitely with regards to the language. I did know that it's necessary. Now I know how much necessary is it.
So how necessary is it?
Very much. Yeah. So I think once you have made up the mind that you're going to come here, I would say like invest as much time as possible trying to learn the language, and dude, I think try to do anything, everything which will help you with your language improvement. That's really, really helpful.
True, that is so well said. That is true.
You're watching shows, trying to have small conversations, anything, but try to focus on that. I think the second thing that I would like to focus on is the fact that you don't have to force yourself to find friends. Sometimes you just need to be you, and
by yourself, perhaps.
Yeah, just focus on what you like to do, and you will find the right people. Because there was this period when I was very lonely, and I was going beyond my comfort zone. I mean, not beyond my comfort zone, but I was doing things which is not me, just for the sake of finding friends, just for the sake of finding those meaningful connections.
That's so wise. Yeah.
It just didn't work. I felt, I mean, I met people, but it just didn't feel right to me. And then there was this point when I just left it. I was like, I don't think it's worth it. And I started focusing more on myself, on the things that I like to do. And that's when I found people who really stayed with me for a long term.
Yeah, because if I would meet you when you're doing your thing and you're being in your element, you would come off as a cheerful, happy person.
Yeah.
But if you're trying too hard, I would sense that that I don't know what's the word. I don't want to use a too negative word. Something like desperation, perhaps. You would sense that. But if you're being in your element, doing your thing, then you would be more at ease. No, that makes complete sense.
It's a short-term thing, Maybe you might find some meaningful connection, but it's definitely short-term. It's not going to last long. But making videos, YouTube is something I love, and I kept doing it, and that's how I met you, Mayank, and everyone. Similarly, I like to go for morning runs, and I met amazing people because of that fact. Cars, same thing. So I think it's a good idea to focus on the things that you like to do, and you will find the right people. Just be open, and I think the last thing that I would say is pick a hobby. It really helps. Pick a hobby and really try to be the best in that. You don't have to be an expert, but put effort to keep improving yourself, and you'll eventually, that helps a lot with your community as well, and it gives you a sense of confidence when you're having conversations with other people. It could be anything. Like for me, coffee, for example. Coffee is something that I never thought I would get so deep into. But once I came here and once I started putting effort to learning more about it, it's amazing. You learn so much. It's one, you learn, you get the knowledge, and two, you start having conversations with these so many different people, and it's again a whole new network that you build.
What's up next? What's happening next? You're towards the end of your school now.
Yep.
So you're looking for a job / thing?
Yes, so this is my final semester. So I'm done with all my studies, all my exams, finally. So now all I have left is my master thesis. I need to finish that. It's a big task. And after that, I'm trying to find a full-time job. But from what I understood is that most of the companies here in France, they prefer to give you a fin d'études stage, which is basically an end of study internship, and you have the possibility to convert that internship into a full-time role once you're done with it.
Right.
So my focus right now is to get a full-time role and a fin d'études stage, and then eventually convert it into a full-time role.
Gotcha.
Fingers crossed.
Man, I wish you the best.
Thanks, man.
Where would be the best place for people to reach out to you if they have questions about your journey and want to learn from you?
So you could reach out to me on I should say that. Okay. So she was a pro in that. she immediately. Yeah. So you can find me on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. It goes by the name Timworks. I have the same username on Instagram as well. You could find me on LinkedIn as well. I think Josh is going to put all the links in the description below. And just shoot me a message, and I'm happy to interact with you guys.
Thanks so much for taking the time, man. I know you for so long, and I learned so much about you that I did not know. So glad to have done this, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, if there is something specific that you guys would like us to discuss about, there is version 1 of this video on Vikram's channel where he was asking questions to me. I'll put the link of that video in the description as well. Go have a look at that. If you have any questions to him, of course, like he said, reach out to him on YouTube. But if there's something that you would like us to discuss as South Indian brothers, if that's who you are, then tell us what you would like to hear, and we'd like to have another discussion about it.
Yeah, sure. That would be great. Yeah.
See you guys. Take care.
Ooh.
So cool.